Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 1118 of Screw the Commute podcast. Today we're going to talk about perils of partnerships. Yikes. I got my own story and I'll tell you another story about a nightmare thing. All right, hope you didn't miss episode 1117, 1117, and that was exercise snacks. And I'm not talking about food here, okay, at all. It's just short exercise things you can do when you're sitting too long in front of this computer. Really a good episode there. Anytime you want to get to a back episode, you go to screwthecommute.com/ and any episode number. That was 1117. Now pick up a copy of my automation ebook at screwthecommute.com/automate free. I've been telling everybody lately, version 3.0 is the latest, but this program that I've been promoting for years and years and years called Short Keys is no longer a program. It's a browser extension, but it's still extremely powerful and has saved me, we estimated, really an estimate, 10 million keystrokes over the years. All right, so that's probably months and months of typing. Okay, check out my mentor program at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com and my school at imtcva.org, certified to operate by Chev. Okay, let's talk about the perils of partnerships. Now, I've personally lived through this, but I was just watching this video by a guy named Lucas Botkin. He is, or was, the founder, I guess he still is the founder, of T-Rex Arms. It's a multi-million-dollar now company, but he started it in his garage for $2,000 of his own money. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to put in the show notes a link to a YouTube video that he is explaining to all his followers why he quit the company. He started the company. So I'll give you the short story here. So he was building the company up. He was hiring his brothers. I think he had 3 brothers, and even some of their wives were working at the company. I think there's 70 more, or so employees, and the company's growing like crazy. And so one day the brothers come to him and say, we'd like to be partners rather than just employees. And I think from what it sounded like, he's the baby of the family. All right. So he bootstrapped this business and it's growing like crazy. And they wrote up an agreement that made him lose the majority interest in the company so he could be kicked out. All right. It's just crazy. His own family, what it appeared to me, just took advantage of him and made this agreement up. And it went on for years where they were arguing and they were treating his wife like crap. And she was offering to work for free, because there was systems that needed help and she was going to do it for free and they wouldn't have her, didn't even answer him. And he got to the point where he just wanted to buy them out and get them out of there. And they wouldn't even respond to his offers for payment to get rid of them. And so he finally talked to his pastor and he decided, I just got to get out of here. I can't take this the way they're treating my wife. And it's a Christian kind of company, supposedly. That's what I hate, the fake Christians out there. But anyway, so he tells his whole story about this and how he got out. And now he's starting some other businesses. But terrible. His own family kind of screwed him over. And my story is that when I had my nightclub in Morgantown, West Virginia, it was going great guns, but it was a small nightclub. And I wanted to build on a great big area so we could expand to like 400 people a night. And one of the patrons heard about this, and it was a builder, supposedly. There's a big air quotes around that. Builder, supposedly. And so he made me an offer. We became partners. and he started building this great big addition onto my smaller club. However, he was building it in a substandard fashion. I ended up calling an engineer in, and the way he did the roof, it would caved under the snow. All right, so it came to, and all he wanted to do is, hang around and drink beer, for free, because he's a partner now. And this club is being built in a dangerous fashion and just terrible. So ended up, he wouldn't leave. I had to go to court. It was a big court battle. Ended up giving him 17. I think from what I recall, I had to give him $17,000. Now this is in 1980s money to get rid of him for whatever materials he had in the building, and then I had to take it over myself and build it properly so it wouldn't cave in on all the patrons. So it was a nightmare. So if at all possible, I'm encouraging you to keep 100% of your company. Now, I understand that bringing on people and money can work. In fact, one of my proteges is now a multi-millionaire, sold his company for $340 million because he brought in people. But, that's the exception. That's not the rule, all right? And so I want you to keep 100% of the company yours if possible. Now, a lot of listen to this, some of the failures, the estimates from, now there's no exact figures on this, all right, because a lot of little companies just go under and quietly go back to working at Burger King or wherever, I don't know. But there's estimates across legal places and small business places and venture capital data and all of that. They say the failure rate of sole proprietors, or individual small businesses owned individually that went into a partnership, listen to this, is between 50 and 80%. They fail, all right? And many of the causes are they're fighting over money, they're fighting over workload imbalance. Somebody says, yeah, let's be partners, and then they want the other person to do all the work, and then they're out spending the money on fancy cars and not doing anything. Control issues are a big thing. Personality conflicts, like they're treating the guy's wife, their own younger brother's wife, like crap. All right, and she didn't deserve it. All right, so I want you to really think hard if you're thinking about a partnership and how that could help you. I'd rather see you do a GoFundMe account to get a big bunch of cash in, and then you still own it and you don't have to pay anything back or owe anybody anything. See? Now, I also want you to listen to episode 993. That's the pros and cons of the things you need to know before you get into a partnership. See, the old saying, and it's totally true, it's easy to get in a partnership, really easy. It's many times a freaking nightmare to get out, like I had, and mine wasn't even the worst of the worst. I mean, this poor guy with a multi-million-dollar company started out of his garage, and his own family, pushes him out or makes him want to leave. So listen to episode 993. That's screwthecommute.com/993, and really think this through. And see, when the getting out part, the reason it's such a nightmare is people don't plan for it with, prenuptial and postnuptial agreements, and what happens if somebody gets sick, and do they still own part of it if they're not contributing? And I mean, just all these things. Sometimes if they're worried about somebody getting sick, or what if they die, and the spouse wants to come over and take their place. I'm thinking Erica Kirk kind of thing, but they're not competent. And I'm not saying she's not competent. Everybody else is, right? But you can fund that with insurance and and what the valuation of the company when somebody dies, or or whatever. If they just want to leave, how do you value it if the one partner wants to buy the other one, and a lot of times there's more than one partner. So all this stuff has to be thought out in advance so that there's no arguments at the end. There still could be arguments, but thinking this stuff out ahead of time usually helps reduce the arguments because people agreed to all this stuff in advance. Now, typically a lot of them forget about it. Oh, well, that was a long time ago, but now things are different. I want, $1 million, or, whatever it is. But anyway, that's episode 993, screwthecommute.com/993 on the pros and cons of and the things you need to know before you get into a partnership. Okay, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And make sure you check out my school at imtcva.org. It's the only licensed, dedicated internet and digital marketing school in the country, probably the world, and it could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars by going to a 4-year, I call it indoctrination camp, where you learn how to protest and then you compete for jobs at Starbucks. All right, because you were in some dumb major that's not saleable in the marketplace. So this gives you a highly in-demand skill in as little as 6 months, and we've had people making money long before they graduate. All right, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We'll catch you all in the next episode. See you later.